Hello folks, and in today's video we will make Shark in Sewer. Now really what we're going to be making today is if this makes any more sense, going to be making a whale shark that's radioactive, so he glows in the dark, that lives in a radioactive sewer. So, I mean, if that makes any more sense to you, there you go. But just starting off here, making a little base with some foam core board and a piece of veneer, which I could have used paper, but veneer was the closest thing I had to me, so I just used that. And went ahead and taped it down and took some Sculpey air dry out to make the brick. So the brick is going to be the back wall to the sewer. Now, in this magical sewer, there will be these little, like, oil cans, per se, little drum barrels that will be spilling their toxic goo into this sewer that we're making here. And in the sewer we're making, it's going to be all brick, and there's going to be that nice curve in the back wall, just like that. And with this lovely slathering of clay, we need to make each brick. So instead of doing every single one by hand, I'm going to use this ruler to make some straight lines across it, to get some straight lines across it, and then we'll just go in and do each line for the individual brick, which is still very tedious and took me a long time, but in the long run it was a lot faster. So there you go. As you can see, we just made a bunch of little bricks. I took a bunch of clay out the back right there because I didn't want the whole thing to be brick. I wanted some like chunks missing and whatnot, and changed my mind about halfway through, so I cut this bottom part off and then glued it horizontally onto the side to make it almost kind of like a platform, as if it was like a skateboarding, little mega ramp or mini ramp or ramp, but just adding that little back edge over there so I can actually set the barrels down and stuff, so that way they can be spilling over down into the sewer. I slathered our bricks down full of white paint and sanded off the top of it so I can get some of that grout and some of that worn painted brick look, which I think turned out great. And then off camera I decided to add all this detail. So these are little drum barrels that'll be spewing our stuff, but you can see I dirtied a bunch. I took bricks out and glued them down to just make it look really old and nasty. I added sand in front of where the sewer's gonna be, and yeah, so I got it all dirtied up, made it look a lot older, and I went ahead and grabbed out my fancy paints to finish the rest of the project with. And with this, I just went ahead and painted the little back of sewer into this nice void. And then, so the actual shark itself, I haven't actually showed you yet. I didn't film it, but here it is. It would have taken a lot longer to record, and the video would be like 20 minutes. But here's what it is. So we're going to go ahead and start by giving this a coat of black. Now that I got the coat of black looking real nice and shiny, I went ahead and I wanted to do a bit of a zenithal highlight of white to just capture some of those details that I put in there that you wouldn't normally be able to see if it was one color. But I forgot to record the after, but you'll see it when I fully paint it later. So setting that off to dry, we came back to here where I painted in front of the sewer green, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of that green all around with a little pipette dropper thingy thing. Is it pipette? I've never really known. I think so. So that's the sewer head that I 3D printed and gunked up that I think looks fantastic. The broken bars on there weren't actually intentional. The filament that I had in my 3D printer was super moist, and there was a lot of humidity that got in it, so it became very brittle, and it broke, but I think it looks great. I went ahead and printed this grate hat as well. No pun intended, because it was great. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a fence out of some necklace chain that I think looks fantastical. I went ahead and decided where I wanted to put my barrels. I figured one standing up and one laying down looked the best, and I glued them down and just painted the inside of all of them green, made them look real nasty. And this, right now I'm just adding the green paint. The actual radioactive part will be resin that I'm gonna add in just a second, but starting with the green, I went ahead and sprayed that trash bag down with isopropyl alcohol and then some watered down white glue, because that'll hold everything in place. I shredded up some, I think this was a plastic spoon into pieces, a plastic fork, my bad. And then this was just a Tic Tac container that I used to make shards of broken glass that if you look real carefully you can see them, and I think it adds a great little bit of detail to it. And next it's time for the resin. So I'm just going to use UV resin because I really didn't want to wait for resin to cure and I didn't want it to drip out of control. But I went ahead and added my pigment powders, which is going to make this the radioactive glow. And I just kind of put that haphazardly around the barrels, just dripping it, kind of making it look natural, as natural as radioactive barrels can get. But I went ahead and cured that with UV light, which you can see they already glow, which is perfect and great example of what they'll look like later. I went ahead and filled the barrel that's laying down into the inside, and then also put some spewing out the front. And I just think these really turned out great, and they added a lot of extra pop to it. In the process of doing all this, the tail of the shark broke off, so I went ahead and glued it back on, even though it really didn't stay until I finally did it, put it on the actual project. But I started painting it with this periwinkle-ish blue, and then went in with a deeper blue on top, which I don't think I really kept either of them, because I went ahead and kind of redid it with a grayish blue. But I filled the mouth, what was supposed to be a black, but ended up being more reddish brown. And painted the belly completely white, which I had to do a couple times to get it completely opaque. But in the end, it turned out pretty nice. This was the other pigment that I was going to be using to make the shark glow in the dark. It glows a blue, not necessarily fully under UV, morely in the dark, which I think is really cool. Oh, and then for the grate, I hadn't actually glued the grate in yet, so I did that and I added, as you can see in the back, it's technically like snow texture, but it made it look real nasty and corrosive, which I'll paint later. And then back to the whale shark, I put all of its little spots and lines on there, trying to make it look as much as a whale shark could recognizably be. So right now I'm just using white paint. I went ahead and went over them with the pigment after. I finished up a final few details, got in all of our spots to make them glow, did everything, made it all nice and pretty. And I went ahead and drilled a little hole by hand in our model and set the piece in there. And it's pretty much done. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video was really fun to make, and it took a lot of work. It took me a couple weeks to do, and I'm so glad you stayed tuned and watched the whole video because I think it turned out really well. And yeah, if you want to leave a name for our radioactive whale shark, you can in the comments. And besides that, thank you so much, and go ahead and watch all my other videos. Thank you. Love you guys.